Art Breaking Cultural Barriers online session. I acknowledge the Nanual people, who are the traditional custodian of this land, in which we are meeting and pay respect to the elders of the Nanual nation, both past and present. I extend the respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples who are attending our virtual meeting today. The United Arab Emirates is thriving with a vibrant artistic and cultural movement. For example, Dubai is becoming the global center of art and culture and now grants the first cultural visa in the world. UAE promotes universal values like freedom of intellectual creativity, tolerance, enhancing diversity, and maintaining international standards of the role of art. The UN believes that art is a great tool to counter challenges facing the world, such as terrorism and extremism. We are grateful that new technologies allow us to interact with our societies and cultures worldwide. UAE is the home to international museums, such as the Louvre and Guggenheim Museums, alongside with our own national museums. In addition to connecting international artists and initiates intellectual artistic dialogue via exhibitions. As His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the Vice President, Prime Minister, and ruler of Dubai, said, art in all its colors and types reflects the culture of the nations, their history and civilization. The UAE Embassy is today hosting unique artists from Australia and UAE. Our guests are His Excellency Abdullah Subusi, UAE Ambassador to Australia, Mr. Graham Jones, former architectural designer, Mr. Tony Wilson, painter, photographer, and digital artist, and Maysoon Saleh, multidisciplinary artist. I would like to welcome our first speaker, His Excellency Abdullah Subusi, not as an ambassador, but as an artist. He opened his first exhibition recently on 1st of December 2020 in conjunction with the UAE National Day at our embassy in Canberra, Australia. My question to Your Excellency is, as you are aware in Abu Dhabi, the UAE capital city, there are 9 letter sculptures, and each letter evokes a different religious symbol, representing the word of tolerance, located in front of the court of the Crown Prince. Do you think art could be universal language between cultures, and whether this concept has been reflected in your painting? The floor is yours, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Asha. I'd like to first thank Maysoon Saleh for being with us here live from Dubai. And of course, Graham is in Melbourne. Tony is in Adelaide, South Australia. And I'm in Abu Dhabi. So, and Aisha, of course, is in Canberra. So this is and art bring us together. I think art is a great medium to between civilizations. I can speak English, others can't. Languages differ, dialects can add another layer of communication. But art is easy to be understood from all over the world. You can, if not, if you didn't get the artist's point of view, but also, you'll get something out of it, what it means to you, a reflection on your soul. So I think it is very universal, and I think it's very important to be included in public diplomacy programs. It's one aspect that will benefit any bilateral relations, I think. To connect culturally, to connect on an artistic point of view is very important. We are Australia's largest trading partner in the whole Middle East and North Africa, and we enjoy good, wonderful relations in all aspects. And I'd like to see it extend to the art scene because I think I'm very proud of our artists, Emirati artists, male and female, what they have done in such a short period. We're talking about 50 years of the establishment at the UAE. And, before that, I think everybody knows in the 60s, our separate emirates were considered some of the least developed nations in the world. Fast forward today, when next year we celebrate our 50 years of existence, I think we have achieved a great lot of success. And one of the areas I'm glad to see that the art and culture scene has kept up because of the focus of the leadership on this very important subject. But I won't talk for long. I'd love to hear what my other colleagues have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I appreciate you participating with us while you are on holiday. Now, I'd like to welcome our next guest, Graham Jones. Mr. Jones has impressive CV. He is a former architectural designer and now full-time contemporary expressionist painter. He has lived and worked in Abu Dhabi for 7 years. His first solo exhibition opened in Abu Dhabi in February this year. Graham, you are working with the different cultures, and as Eisenhower said, art is language, and through it, each to the culture of mankind. How much do you agree with this quote, and how can art deliver this message?
Yes, thanks, Aisha. I've taken some notes here and done a little bit of thinking about this during the week, and I think that Dwight D. Eisenhower is very correct in what he says, is that art is a universal language. I think it's very true. I travel a great deal. I've been very lucky, and I've been fortunate to visit all 7 continents and over 60 countries. And judging by the attendance that I see at national galleries and museums in every country that I visit, I think that's the first port of call for most people, or many people, when they get to a country, and that's to attend these national galleries and museums. And I think it's through the art of these countries, we're provided with a tremendous insight into their cultures and how they differ from our own. And I think the expression of human creative skill and imagination through the arts of painting, printmaking, sculpture, architecture, writing, music, and even dance on public exhibition in these countries that I travel to, I think provides us with so much of the history, knowledge, an appreciation, especially I think of the human spirit, the endeavour and the cultural heritage that we, as humans, all share. I mean, it's one planet, and I think we're one race, but we share these things, I think, together. So I think the message is very, very powerful, and I do believe that it's been universally appreciated, accepted and applied, especially now with the advent of social media. But I think it can only change people's thinking and break down these barriers. Now, I'd like to just quote from an article by Andrei Tarkovsky in an article called Sculpting in Time, which I think reinforces what I've just said. And in this article, he says that art is a meta-language with the help of which people try to communicate with one another to impart information about themselves and assimilate the experiences of others. Again, this is not to do with practical advantage, but with realizing the idea of love, the meaning of which is in sacrifice, for example, and the very antithesis of pragmatism. Now, I simply can't believe that an artist can ever work only for the sake of self-expression. Now, as I started to say a little earlier, before we went live here, I had the pleasure of going to Canberra with my wife last week to see Abdullah's, the opening of his fine first exhibition. Congratulations. It was an absolute delight. It was fantastic. And what you did with to bring the two our two histories together, particularly the Aboriginal culture and the culture of Abu Dhabi or the UAE's outback, I thought was brilliant. But while we were in Canberra, my wife and I visited the Australian National Museum, and when we went there, we saw this piece of art that I hope everybody can see on the screen at the moment. This is a massive piece of art it's entitled Nagurara. I think that's how you pronounce it. And this was a collaborative work on canvas painted by 19 Aboriginal men and women back in 1996 in Pernini in the Great Sandy Desert of Western Australia. Now, the artwork is, as you can see, it's multicoloured. It's an acrylic painting, but it's depicting an aerial map. And I think this is what's really important, an aerial map of the country of the Walmajari and Wangajunga peoples, if that's correct, of the Great Sandy Desert. Now, it was executed by this team of traditional owners as evidence to be offered in the Nugurara native title application, which was a claim by the native people of that area of 800,000 hectares of land that was due to be considered by the National Native Title Tribunal in 1997. Now, the significance of this particular painting is that there were no land surveyors there at the time that were able to survey this land or accurately. So, hence, this piece of art was painted by the traditional owners of the land and was actually accepted into evidence in this tribunal. Now, the case was decided in their favour, so they won the case in 2007, and the land was handed back to its rightful owners. Now, I say to you, isn't that like the power? I think this is the power of art, of that this land couldn't even be surveyed, but they had these 19 people sitting around drawing the rivers and the boundaries and the things in there that meant to them, and it was so powerful that it was accepted by the tribunal and they won that case. So that to me says, you know, it crosses cultures, it crosses boundaries. I think I think it's there for everybody to go and see in the exhibition, and it was just wonderful for us to see that and experience that. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham, for your enriching and joyful talks. Our third guest, Tony Wilson, is an Aboriginal Italian-Australian based in Adelaide, focusing on contemporary art. He creates sophisticated and evocative artworks that explore themes of identity, collective resonance, and connectedness, heavily influenced by his cultural heritage, interactions with people and environment. Previously, he has worked in youth engagement programs for over 18 years, working with children at risk. In the past 4 years, he has been running a program which used art as therapeutic method to positively re-engage young people back in schools. Prior to this, he had quit arts practice for more than 10 years. Tony, what concepts about art you are trying to deliver to your artists and audience?
Hello, it's nice to be here. I've been thinking about this question over the past week, and I've written some notes, so I'll refer to them as I talk. But I think for me, it's important to maybe just give some context to my background and how I got to the point I'm at now with my art practice.
Sure.
So if I take it back, ever since I can remember as a little boy, I was drawing. I was into illustration, graphite and charcoal work, portraiture. I loved it. This was part of my identity. And then instead of going straight into art school after I completed high school, I actually took a break and found myself in youth work. So and the reason I took a break from my work, my art studies, was because I felt compelled to do this work. There was meaning and purpose in this work for me. And so for 18 years, this is what I was involved in. During that time, I did take a break and I went to university and I studied art. But during this time, I actually, I quit art school because at the time I felt like I didn't fit into the traditional mold of what an artist is supposed to be. And then I was again compelled to go back into the youth work. So for me, working with young people in my community is something that's meaningful and purposeful for me. When I did that, I actually quit art completely. So if we fast forward it a bit to 4 years ago, during my time in the youth work, I was actually offered an opportunity to create an engagement program that the aim was to re-engage students back into the education system, but through art. So I was given an opportunity to create this program that used art as a vehicle to re-engage students. And in my 18 years working in this sector, it was clearly the most positively impactful engagement program. And quickly it revealed to me another side of art that I didn't realize, and that it had so much positive impact, and it had healing properties to it. I mean, the way it transformed these students, from being disengaged to then to having high levels of engagement and their attendance back in school. It was a wonderful program. But here is where I bring it back together to from quitting art, 10 years not practicing any art, just being around this environment. Within 2 weeks of this being in this program, it reignited my passion for art. And this painting that you can see on the screen now, this painting, I wanted to sort of show this painting because this was actually the first artwork that I completed after quitting my art. And this was sort of the crossover between my old form of artwork, which was illustration and portraiture, to the artwork that I practice now that is more abstract, and I draw on more of my cultural background. But this particular painting, I think, is complementary to the question of what concepts about my art am I trying to deliver to young artists or young people and the wider audience. So this particular painting is called Brother. Now sits in its home in New York. It was inspired by some of the amazing students I've worked with over the years and some very special family members. It's a reminder of the strength and beauty and creativity that lies within us all. Sometimes it's difficult to see in others or to find within ourselves, but if you look for it, you will find it. And these are the sort of concepts that I guess working 18 years in the youth work industry has influenced my artwork. So now while I'm practicing my art, while I'm developing new ideas, these are the sorts of concepts that I meditate on while I practice my art. And so I've just put down a couple of things here that that mean a lot to me, and that I hope can sort of translate through the art. And I understand sometimes my art is quite abstract, but I still hope there is a sort of a universal language that sort of goes beyond the obvious. And it's when you look at art, you know, sometimes, you know, you don't just look with your eyes, but you experience it with both your heart and your mind. And so I hope there's some elements to that that translates over to the audience. But ultimately, for me, I'll just read from my notes here, but
Okay.
my wish is for better relationships between people and themselves through more care, understanding, and respect. We have a history here in Australia that needs to be healed and for people to reconnect. And I hope my artworks can contribute in some way towards this. And this is what drives me. And a lot of in my symbolism that I use to tell my stories, a lot of times it always comes back to the concept of that we influence each other, that we have impact on each other and our environment, and those things have impact on us. And there's always what's infused in my artwork is there's an interconnection to all things. And so that's usually a common theme in my artwork. And so just those reminders of some of those basic things that we can miss in our modern lifestyle, but that relationships and connection, I think, you know, if and the other thing that I hope that my artwork can provide is a conversational platform, but a conversational platform that also invites the heart to the conversation, not just our minds. So opening up that sort of empathy towards each other to increase the understanding between us. And I think through, you know, shared stories, shared experiences, and a genuine care and curiosity about each other, I think the more we can also come to those commonalities, and when we start to recognize ourselves in other people, despite coming from you know, different country, different gender, different religious backgrounds, but when we find those commonalities and we become more familiar with each other, you know, we become less threatened by each other. And yeah, I you know, that's some of the things that I hope does translate across in my artwork. And the photos that you can see on screen, this is some of the art therapy that we did with the kids, and it was a wonderful program. And the basic concept to the program was we set up a real life art studio within the school. And when the students would come into the room, we would treat them as artists, not as students. So the responsibility was back on them, and my role was just to be a lead artist and facilitate the process. And there was a photo that was just before that one, and it just shows that we actually got the students into exhibitions, and they got to sell their work, and they were so proud of their achievements, and you can see the beauty of their artwork, and within each artwork they're sharing their story, their perspective, and it just had a very powerful effect. And like this photo reminds me of the process of art. It's therapeutic, and it's in the process. It's a active meditation. You know, it's mindfulness. And so there was very powerful healing components to art practice in itself. Yeah. There was another painting that I was hoping that we could put on the screen of my painting, but I'm not sure if that's possible. I'll see if... so can you see that?
Yep.
Okay, so this is one of my recent
So beautiful.
paintings. Thank you. And so this is now the style that I'm currently doing, and you can see it's a lot more abstract. But this painting's called Great Grandmother, and this painting comes from a family series. So I use the names of the pillars in the family, but in my culture, if you're called auntie or uncle, it's a sign of respect, and you're a leader in the community, just being bestowed that title. So I've used different family, the pillars in the family to title these paintings. But this painting is actually an acknowledgement to elders or leaders in the community, leaders of the past, present, and the emerging leaders, so the next generation. And that's really important, and that's something that I'm really passionate about painting, is just that reminder that we, the impact that we have on the next generation coming through. And you can see there's circles and ripples around the outside, like if it was raindrops on the water surface. And that's the next generation leaders coming through, and it's painting showing the interconnection that is there, and the impact that we have on each other, positive and negative. But yeah, so this is an acknowledgement to elders in the community, to those who inspire others to be the best version of themselves. It suggests the importance of how our present choices have impact on people and environment now and into the future. It's about empowering ourselves through empowering others. And so, like, this is the common thread throughout a lot of my work, is just going back to that and remembering, that we despite whatever's going on, we have the ability to impact our surroundings, and I hope that is the message that comes through. Yeah, so maybe I could just sort of summarize, back to the question of, in a sense, of how I hope my artwork is received. I guess I hope my art is not just received through the eyes, but through the heart and the mind. I hope it can contribute in some way in building trusting relationships, and a better understanding of ourselves, our place in the world, and of each other. I also hope it can raise awareness of current issues faced in my local and wider communities, but through a message of hope. I think that's really important, is a message of hope, and that we can, that there is a solution to whatever the problems are that we're facing. And I just want to, finish it with one epiphany that I had last year when I was lucky enough, pre-COVID, I was in Italy for 3 months, and I was doing a art residency. And it was the first time I got to experience just painting full time. It was an amazing experience for me personally. And I had an epiphany, and it's just a sentence, but it's something that I always refer back to. And I guess I hope it because it's infused into my art, and it's this: find a way to offer the world the best version of yourself. And that's the message that I hope translates in my art. Thank you.
Beautiful, Tony.
Tony, thank you. By the way, your artworks is touching my heart. I don't know about the others, but it's very nice. And
Shukran.
yeah, I value your efforts and works with the young artists.
I miss this work. I've actually taken a break to focus on my art, but I think maybe in a year's time, I definitely will return to this work. It's has a special place in my heart.
Of course. Last but not least, our Emirati young artist Maysoon Saleh graduated from Zaid University in 2010 with a degree of interior design, the same university I graduated from, Maysoon. I think you are in Dubai, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I graduated from Abu Dhabi branch.
Oh, okay. That's great.
Yeah. Maysoon participated in a national and international exhibitions. Maysoon's artworks focus on the importance of Emirati art and how it's shaped its history, heritage, and culture. She also has keen interest in international art and culture. Maysoon, our young artist, in your last artwork, the Abraham Accords Peace Agreement, would you please explain to us the concept behind it? The floor is yours, Maysoon.
I used a feather of a white pigeon in the artwork as a symbolic of peace. And you will notice their hands connected to one another, and you will find the pigeon feather in the center. And I placed the date of the signing of the peace agreement, included the date and the timing of the signing. Yeah.
And the other paints, the other artworks, can you talk about it, please?
Sure. It's part of the three-phase signal series that I've created. It was part of my fourth solo exhibition. I used a combination of various mediums such as painting, digital art, interactive art, sculptures, and video art. So you will notice that the artworks that doesn't really portray the people's feature. I wanted to concentrate on their clothing, their religious clothing, and various religions.
Thank you, Maysoon. I admire the creative way of reflecting the meaning of tolerance and peace in your artworks.
Thank you.
Your Excellency would like to add anything?
I'm muted.
Yeah.
I'm really. Maybe we should open the floor. If I feel like I haven't heard from Maysoon. So what are you? We talked a lot. All the men talked a lot. Tell us about your future plans. How do you see? Where do you see yourself in this Emirati? And you seem like you worked. You have things in Italy, in the U.S., New York, everywhere. Tell us about that.
I'm preparing for my next exhibition. It's going to happen in New York. It will take place in March.
Fantastic.
And it's a different series. It was inspired by COVID. And I created the works with very vibrant colors. And at the same time, I've been working on other projects on the side, supporting emerging artists to exhibit their work here in UAE and abroad.
Tell me about something very interesting to me for future after I retire, maybe. How do you commercialize? Use your art, commercialize, or what's, if you know what I mean?
Usually I have an online portal that I have my artworks placed there. I moved more digitally and having virtual exhibitions currently between now and then. Other than that, I would work on other commissioned projects.
Maysoon, my last question to you. Why do you like to paint skulls?
Everybody would ask me that question. I always try to highlight the inner beauty. That's why I would portray as work instead of portraying the outer surface. In the end, we're all skeletons. There is no differentiation between age, gender, or nationality. We're all equal.
Okay.
Beautiful.
So I'm one of the young ones. I'm not the old one. I don't think it'll be long before I'm looking like that.
I have a question. Do you think that there is, how do you feel about, what do you think the role of an embassy or diplomacy? How can we support artists as an institution, or especially if we are in a different country, not in...
To be honest, you're already doing so much for the artists. All consulates and embassies, they're supporting artists in various exhibitions to showcase abroad. It's happening already, and they're being very supportive, to be honest.
Do you see any areas where we can do more?
I think if we would have public artworks, for example, mapping on buildings, something that the public can interact with would be very interesting.
I mean, the painting that Graham talked about in the museum, I think, is it?
Yeah, the museum, Australia Museum.
Yeah, and I think it's very interesting, the collaboration between different... Do you envision something like this, Tony, maybe, or Graham? How do you feel about collaborating in one piece of artwork with other artists?
Well, I think any opportunity for collaboration is great. Whether it's between artists in my local neighborhood, or if it's international, it's even better. That cross-cultural exchange. I think it's a fantastic idea. There's probably many ways that you could do this, but I think if it's worth exploring for sure.
If I can just add something in there, that I've had a little different experience, rather than say collaboration so much, but because of my 7 years living in Abu Dhabi, and I don't know whether Aisha has a particular painting there, but I did a painting of from Yas Island, because I lived on Yas Island for 3 years, and I had the opportunity. My friend's daughter, Hin El Naimi, was at the same university that you ladies went to, but in Abu Dhabi, and that is to Zayed University. And she was named, I think this is maybe in 2012, she was named the Young Entrepreneur of the Year. And I know, Mysoon, you're an entrepreneur as well, and in your business. And she was the president of the Entrepreneurs Club at Zayed University, and she was also nominated or named the Young Entrepreneur of the Year in Abu Dhabi for that year. And she invited me out to speak to the club, just a small group in the club, about entrepreneurship and what have you. And I was just so impressed. And that's not actually the painting that's up there that I'm talking about. It's the one from Abu Dhabi. I don't know whether you have it there, Aisha.
We have it.
But anyway, it's a scene. It's just like a contemporary landscape from the beach. But I guess the point that I want to mention is that what I learned from going to out to Zayed University, which is predominantly young women at the university, I think about 6,000 young women in Abu Dhabi, and I was out there talking to some of these young women and getting to understand, I think, the importance that we're, say, outside the Middle East, people have a different view, I think, of women in society. And I think that what I could see from my time living there, that how young women are coming on and how they're having such a say in so many aspects of society in the UAE. And so consequently, I reflect in this particular painting. I'm often asked about what is this like a black thread that runs through, and it has tentacles and arms that runs through this landscape, and which doesn't seem to fit with a landscape which has some desert. I've got different colours of deserts because of different deserts I visited, as well as the beach and the beautiful colours of the sea there, which are just magnificent. But I've got this thread going through of these black tentacles and black going through it. And I've been asked, what is the significance of that? And that was my kind of subliminal message in the painting to represent the abaya and being the black colour going through there, and how it was sort of growing out, as to see the way that women, and young women in particular, have been given or have grown into the work and economy and the positions in companies and for the government and everything else, and the respect that they have now, perhaps, which isn't maybe what it was many, many years ago, but that's typical in most societies, I think, and the way that we've all grown. And I have 3 paintings that I did based on my time in the Middle East, in Abu Dhabi, that all have this thread flowing through it, just to show and to pay respect to the young women and female entrepreneurs, and how they're the impact they're having on UAE society today. So that was, rather than me having doing a collaboration, this was my way of, rather than doing something from my own country, I wanted to show something and pay my respects to the people of the UAE in showing this particular thread that I thought was important in your society.
Yes, very smart idea. Unfortunately, time has passed quickly. Thank you to all of our artists. It was a pleasure hosting you today. I would like to thank our audience for watching us and supporting the UAE Embassy virtual sessions. This is the last online session for 2020, and I wish you all happy holiday and happy new year. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. We look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Thank you. شكرا ميسوم. شكرا عاشق.
Okay, ma salama.
مع السلامة.
Bye.